Buddham saranam gacchāmi, dhammam saranam gacchāmi, sangham saranam gacchāmi. Buddham saranam gacchāmi, dhammam saranam gacchāmi, sangham saranam gacchāmi.
My life has been characterized by three quests: scientific research, aiding the poor of the world, and becoming a Buddhist monk. Scientific research. As a graduate student, I used to characterize myself as an anti-intellectual. Like all of us, I was searching for the truth. At MIT, we dealt with data and logic. But at Harvard, we stacked photocopies and applied the formula paraphrase 2, quote 1. At Cornell, I reached my niche with social psychology and Southeast Asian studies. One fundamental fact has to be ignored by all Western academicians: extrasensory perception. J.B. Rhine is laughed out of academic circles. To accept extrasensory perception would require a scientific revolution that even Thomas Kuhn couldn't envision, undermining Western models from Newton on. It's safer to ignore the facts. Academia has two strengths that have also become limitations: objectivity and scientific skepticism. Both promote lowest common denominator research that can be seen by all, like running rats through mazes instead of investigating the marvels of the human mind. I have experienced ESP as direct primary data and know it to be true. Buddhism begins by noting that there are 6 senses, where the mind is number 6. Bringing a thought into consciousness from memory is just like seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, or touching. From there on, our quest becomes to raise our consciousness, to experience the full potential of the mind, and to see the truth for ourselves. Extrasensory perception is ridiculed as subjective, but Buddhism notes that subjective experience is primary. That is where we find happiness or sadness. Our efforts should focus on ourselves as observers, to become more objective and more aware. With these thoughts, I put my academic quest for the truth on hold and set off for my second mission, aiding the poor of the world. I've always had a global perspective. Americans don't know what poverty is. They think it means driving in their car to the unemployment office. Besides, I enjoyed learning new cultures and languages. I focused on Africa, but also worked throughout Asia. I especially enjoyed working with villagers. I have a deep respect for their integrity and local knowledge. By asking what their problems were and listening to them, we were able to make significant short-term progress. As my career progressed, I focused on planning, monitoring, and evaluation, which were needed everywhere. I found myself dealing at higher government and international levels, which were less personally rewarding. The problem with our village development efforts was that 5 years later, there would be very little left. There simply wasn't the government infrastructure or village-level self-confidence to keep things going. Buddhism taught me a new perspective. It focuses on personal development rather than economic development. Things are as much a burden as a benefit. First we struggle to obtain them, and then we struggle continuously to maintain them. Real treasures are internal. Buddhism also taught me alternative targeting. Instead of aiming at the most needy, it seeks those who are most likely to benefit. In Buddha's words, those who have only a little dust on their eyes. Now becoming a Buddhist monk. I first lived in Thailand from 1961 to 63, arriving from India where I had studied elections for a dissertation in political science at MIT. Findings were straightforward but not publishable. The Congress Party won by paying twice as much as the opposition. My planned 3-day weekend became 2.5 years. I conducted surveys for the research office at the U.S. Information Service, where my colleague was Srimchai Ponpatnarit, who is now the abbot of this temple, and is the reason why I became a Buddhist monk. After USIS, I spent 3 months translating for a Swedish anthropologist studying the hill tribes. In return, I read all the books and articles on Thailand which he had photocopied, and prepared a new dissertation outline. Srimchai was running the USIS research office, but putting most of his effort into teaching meditation. He told me his history. At the University of Michigan, a colleague had introduced him to meditation. On his first try, he saw his wife in Thailand ironing and one of his daughters sitting nearby. Upon his return to Thailand, he and his daughters started serious meditation study. The daughters got it right away. Young minds are flexible. He stuck to it and eventually became proficient. He established the Dhammakaya Buddhist Meditation Institute as follows. He went to a printing press to print flyers asking if anyone had land to donate for such an institute. The printer said, "Oh, I have some land," but he could only afford to donate half of it. Srimchai asked for 1 year in which to raise the money to buy the other half. He did so, and that is where the temple is located today. Srimchai showed us an ugly black clay Buddha statue in his house, and told us that it was gold underneath. This was the traditional way to protect valuable Buddha statues. He had been led to find it through his meditation, and was told that he would eventually obtain 2 others. Now all 3 are on display at the temple, gold, silver, and bronze. Someone else told me that in an earlier lifetime, Srimchai was the artisan in Burma who created these statues. On my next brief visit to Thailand, I learned that Srimchai had retired from USIS and become a monk. I looked him up at Wat Sekate in Bangkok, and he told me simply, "Bring your bag and be here at 6 a.m. At 6 a.m. I found 3 chartered buses full of devotees, ready to accompany him to his native village. There we spent the night and stopped at various other temples where he donated thousands of baht to each building fund. He had obviously become one of the most popular meditation masters in Thailand. He had regular radio and TV programs,